Ah yes, the internet. There is no shortage of controversial opinions out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are many valid opinions, but tucked into the corners of comment sections and Reddit, there's always a couple extra wild statements that people just throw out there, which are guaranteed to start some debate. A hot take. Now, by definition, a hot take needs to have some truth to it. So today, I thought it would be fun to give my opinion on some of the hottest takes I could find in the Clash community.
Let's do this.
If we keep our nostalgia aside for a moment, I think the Eagle Artillery was a mid defense. I've seen a lot of variations of this same take, more or less, like the Eagle was never that great anyway, or it was weak, it wasn't that effective. And back when it was merged into the Town Hall in late 2024, these takes were hotter than the surface of the sun. And while I don't agree with those who say it was never good, you know, it used to be very powerful back then before all the nerfs and new defenses, I do agree that by the time it was merged, it had already fallen off. It wasn't really doing a whole lot at the later town halls. Really, the biggest thing it did was act as a giant meat shield that would sometimes damage troops. It was slow and pretty random. Yes, it is a very strong and intimidating defense at Town Hall 11, 12, maybe even 13, 14. But eventually, you get to a point where you don't even notice it in a base because you're worried about other defenses that have a bigger impact to your attack, such as the Giga Inferno, Scatter Shots, Monolith, Merged defenses. The power creep is real. It being merged and eventually removed at Town Hall 17 and 18 was the right call in my opinion. So yeah, nostalgia aside, the Eagle was pretty mid, but I would also add at the upper Town Halls because that's an important distinction. Other than that, I think it's a good take. Event troops shouldn't be broken. You know, it's funny because whenever we see a bad event troop come around, players don't use it. They make fun of it and say things like, this is the worst event troop of all time, or ends up in one of my videos, you know? But then when it's perfectly balanced, like all things should, you have those saying it's underwhelming. It needs a buff. What is the point of using this when I can just use this? The only time a troop is universally praised is when it's broken. No wonder they keep making them OP and buffing the old ones to make them stronger. It makes people want to log on and use the troop. It's totally busted. I'm gonna farm the crap out of my walls while I can. So there's certainly a correlation here, and I don't blame them for continually making the most broken abominations ever. And luckily, we live in a time where ranked mode exists, so these OP troops don't affect the overall quality of the meta. Regular multiplayer attacks is now just this contained area of how wacky can we make this game, right? You know, screw it, let's just give everyone 50 level-uns. So anyway, should event troops be broken? I think yes. It makes it more fun, they're only here temporarily, and it doesn't affect those who are serious about trophy pushing. This is a bad take. The game is pay to win, and I'm tired of people pretending it's not. Ah yes, the take of the century. This has been debated since the dawn of time. I believe this argument stems from two things. Players not knowing what pay to win actually is, and being confused on what it even is to win in Clash of Clans. There really is no winning in this game. Just about the only thing I consider winning is practicing enough to get 3 stars in a battle. That is winning. Clash of Clans is a pay to progress game, meaning you only pay when you want to progress faster, and it's always been that way. You don't need all your equipment max, you don't need the gold pass discounts, and you don't need to max your base tomorrow. The problem is that some players get a little too competitive and they hit a point where they can't compete with other players who dropped a paycheck on maxing their equipment. And then they go, this game is pay to win because they think that person is winning. Take it from me, a casual, you don't need to reach the end of the road ASAP. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Clash of Clans is one of the most free-to-play games I've ever played. I don't think some players even know how good we have it. Anyway, I think this take is a bad take. Global chat was hot garbage and I am glad it's gone. Alright, nostalgia aside, global chat did have some serious issues that perhaps you don't remember or didn't encounter yourself. Players were using it as a dating chat, there was a lot of bullying, harassment, scamming, private information being shared, and the worst of offenses, adults looking to exploit minors for all sorts of illegal activity. And this wasn't just an issue in Clash of Clans. If you look at any game that used to or currently has a global chat, this is exactly what goes on in those chats. People have no chill. They're always like the Wild West. However, global chat has some real functionality. One of the biggest was clan recruitment. equipment. It hasn't been the same since it was removed. They added this system that was garbage, and then the clan notice, which was their second attempt at solving this issue, was just not it. And it's mostly because these recruitment tools failed to provide what global could: real-time social interactions. You could talk to people, get to know them, and just hang out with random people you never met. Is global chat overrated, and do people often ignore all the faults? Yes, I think so. But hot garbage? I think this is a bad take. Edrags take skill. Another classic. Are Edrags the worst no-skill attack strategy ever, or does it actually take some skill? Players have been debating this since Edrag spam became a thing, and I think the number one reason for this argument is that they're just so easy to use, and the results are typically pretty decent. I didn't even try and I got a 3-star. However, finding success with it in multiplayer attacks for farming, it doesn't always equate to good results in wars. So it has a bad rep for being too easy, to the point where players are overly confident in using them and frequently fail attacks in wars because all I did was drop them in a line. But here's the thing, that is spam in its simplest form. Players have been doing it for years with dragons. And now we have Yetis, Root Riders, Meteor Golems. All of those troops can be spammed and be just as bad as Edrag spam without the proper preparation, the funnels, the blimps, and the hero walks and charges. Any spam can be just as good or terrible as Edrag spam, and equally require as much skill to execute properly. I think what people really mean when they say Edrags is a no-skill strategy is that you could get 3 stars without trying. You could, not that you will. So if you want to get good and be confident that you can 3-star, I think it does require a little bit of skill at least. So with that said, depending on how you see this and what your definition of skill in Clash of Clans is, I think this is a good take. Rushing your base is actually the best strategy. Statistically, it is. The numbers prove that strategic rushing particularly is better for those who are trying to progress as fast as possible, because you unlock a lot of stuff later that can help you speed up that progression versus just going through the game normally, it's kind of slow. It also comes with unique benefits. For example, the value of magic items increases because it fills your storages more, or instant finishes much longer upgrades. And there is always something to do, so the less likelihood that you'll have builders sleeping, doing nothing, wasting time. However, this take is kind of like saying drinking 6 energy drinks a day and skipping sleep is actually the best productivity strategy. Sure, you might get more done faster, but you're ignoring all other consequences. In Clash of Clans, rushing often leads to burnout, a skill gap because you skipped out on all the fundamentals that each town hall teaches you, having a base that's hard to defend, if not impossible, and having a hard time finding clans. And I don't mean rushing a little toward the end of a town hall, I mean rushing. Like I said on another take, Clash is all about the journey, not the destination. So rushing being a better strategy is technically true if you're trying to max as fast as possible, but is it the best strategy overall? I'm gonna have to say no. At least not for the average player who is going through the game for the first time. I think this is a bad take. Hero equipment is a horrible idea and will eventually kill the game. This has been a pretty popular take since equipment was added, and it basically boils down to 3 main problems as far as I can understand. The ore economy is frustrating, attacks rely too much on equipment, and it makes returning to the game overwhelming. It's certainly been one of the most impactful changes to the game, and some players are still not on board with what equipment has done to the game. And yeah, I do agree, the grind is much bigger. The game definitely feels like a chore sometimes. Feels like you'll never get to enjoy certain things. However, is it enough to kill the game, or is it going to be the reason for its downfall? I'm not sure about that. Despite equipment having its issues, it's one of the best features they've added in my opinion. Hero customization feels deep and satisfying. Getting to pick and choose what equipment fits your playstyle, it just makes heroes feel more heroic. And as a casual player, I don't really pay much attention to how can I maximize my ore gains or care much about the equipment I missed out on while enjoying life. It's just a piece of equipment, man. You'll eventually get it for free or saving up your gems. Sure, my opinion and playstyle can be totally different than yours, but I think we can all agree that if Clash ever died, equipment won't be the reason for that. So I think this is a bad take. Builder base should have not been introduced. Some players have been saying this since they added it back in 2017, and back then the main issue was that a large portion of the player base did not care about. At the time, there hadn't been any major home village content in over 2 years because they were so focused on developing and updating the builder base. And people did not like this. It felt like Supercell had no idea what players actually wanted. Fast forward to today, the builder base has been almost abandoned. There's been very little updates to it, and the 2023 rework failed to address many reasons people did not care about it in the first place. Which explains this take: the builder base should have not been introduced. I totally understand where they're coming from. For those who don't enjoy it, it seemed like a big waste of resources, right? They could have easily added all the cool stuff from the builder base to the home village and never even bothered. But the fact is, the builder base had a purpose: to give players something to do while they wait for home village upgrades, and it still serves that purpose. And sure, it has many issues that we will love for them to address, but it is what it is. Whether you enjoy it or not, it had a purpose and it still does today. I think this is a bad take. But yeah, those are the hottest takes I could find. I hope this isn't the last time I make this kind of video. It was fun. If you have any of your own hot takes, leave it in the comment section. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed, and as always, thanks for watching. Have a good one out. Peace.